Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to be back for another powerhouse conversation. And today I have a powerhouse speaker, one who has gone through it, come out on the other side aware and extremely knowledgeable about the things, the true reality of this world, the true reality of this world. So, welcome, Linda Wilks. I'm happy to have you in our sacred space today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here in your sacred space because I feel the sacred energy and I love being in this particular environment because
Yeah.
it's not often that I'm privy to be in this type of an environment. So thank you so much.
Introduce yourself in the way you desire to be known.
Oh, thank you. My name is Linda Cowley Wilks, and I'm an author, I'm a channeler, and I have many intuitive gifts. I'm the author of Spiritual Phenomena and Walk in Souls. And this is a book that pretty much explains experiences that are happening with humans on this planet, and many are unaware. So, this breaks it down so that people can have a great understanding of some of the spiritual phenomena that are happening, such as walk in, souls, and things of this nature, attachments. And I break it down that anyone can understand it and be observant, and they can utilize it by observing people in their lives. And you can determine if they may be a walk in or if they have an attachment. Some of those attachments might be from alcohol and other entities that may attach to someone that you care about. So this breaks it down and gives you a better understanding. This book is on Amazon and it was a bestseller. Also, I have a website, booklinda.org. You can get my book on there, or you can book a consultation with me because I am an intuitive spiritual consultant and I'm extremely confidential. Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. And that book is absolutely amazing. I read that book, and I think that's what first guided me to you. I heard you share your story on one of the IONS programs. And from there, I basically did a search on Linda Wilkes. Who is this lady? And I came across your book and read that book. And oh my goodness, it's a powerhouse book in a small package. It's a quick read, but it's a lot of information. So it's extremely dense in the content that it holds. But I want you to explain for those who might not be aware, what is your definition of an attachment?
An attachment is a spiritual, disincarnate entity that did not go to the light. Most people believe that when a person makes the transition or they pass over, that they go straight to the light. But many do not go to the light for many reasons. And so often these these spirits, they will attach to someone who will provide the sustenance that they needed when they were on planet Earth and they were in a body. And often an attachment can be, and I use the term alcoholic because people generally can understand the behavior of an alcoholic. When alcoholics pass over and they are addicted, and often they want to continue to experience that feeling that the alcohol gave them. So, what they may do is not go to the light. They may linger around in areas where there are people that are drinking a lot of alcohol, sometimes in bars, sometimes with people that are just a staunch alcoholic. They may visit their homes and they are just, in order to experience the experiences that they love, they themselves will merge their energy into the auric field and the energy of that person that is providing the substance that they desire. And sometimes also it can happen with, I'll say, mothers, mothers who want to continue to control their children. Often they don't want to go to the light and they will linger. And often they attach to the environment. They may not attach to the physical body, but they'll stay in that environment so that they can still influence and control the thoughts and the actions of their children.
That's fascinating because when you were speaking and explaining that, I thought of a story one of the previous speakers shared about her aunt placing liquor outside for a deceased relative and coming back, and that liquor would be gone because somebody would have drank it, during the night or whenever it was. I wonder if there's a similar thing happening in those cases where that deceased relative is still lingering around and has a craving for that thing that they craved in life. If there's a similar,
I think
if
it
there's a
is
correlation.
similar. It's similar because we never know because each individual is different and each
Right.
individual has their own spiritual path. And so often they are so similar, but they're very different. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on the inner strength and the soul's path of the person that has the addiction or the controlling ideals that make them want to stay around so they can continue that. And all attachments do not necessarily attach to the physical body, but many addictions do. They
Mm-hmm.
attach to the physical body because they need to merge.
Mm-hmm.
And so the family, they will watch that person, or people that love that alcoholic, they'll watch that person's demise. And they'll say, I don't know you anymore. Because they don't, because there's a stranger
Mm-hmm.
intermingling in that spirit of that human.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So now explain your definition of a walk-in soul.
A walk in soul is a soul that has been revived through the essence of a soul from a higher dimensions. They always come from higher dimensions. They're not just third or fifth dimensional beings. They've done much work on other planetary systems, and they come with a lot of knowledge. Now, for a person to receive a walk-in soul, that person has to have what is considered a framework. That means that they've done some spiritual work. They have maybe some deep understanding of knowledge, and they have a strong desire maybe to just help the people on the planet. So if you got that framework and you may have been in an accident or your body is in a state that it can no longer be sustained, but the framework is there. A spirit from a higher realm, but they are generally guided by different sometimes by ascended masters. Most of the time, and the ascended masters generally help with the transfer of that new soul that has come in. And from my understanding, there are many souls waiting to get down here on planet Earth to help planet Earth move forward. So it's like they're lined up waiting, and they come with knowledge that is not necessarily present on this planet in your circle.
So I have so many questions. Your book goes in great depth about your experience because you yourself are a walk-in soul as you
Yes.
perceive it. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience of being a walk-in soul? How did you come to know that you had had a walk-in experience?
Well, it's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and the teacher appeared on my path. I knew there's something unusual and strange and amazing happened when I was in the nursing home, when I couldn't walk and I could do nothing for myself. This was after my diagnosis for several years as having multiple sclerosis, MS. And the doctors, I had the best neurologists in the state of Illinois, but I was not able to do anything. And so I was always in and out of the hospital. And whenever I was in the hospital, at least twice a month, they would give me 500 milligrams of intravenous steroids every 8 hours. And that was the max they could give to a human without really pushing you over into something else. And so I was given that every 8 hours, and it was constant for years. And then the doctors decided there's nothing else they could do for me. And so I was put into a nursing home. And at that time, my daughter was employed she had a job. So I needed someone to be at home because the intravenous steroids had thrown me into what they call steroid-induced diabetes. So I needed help. You can't walk, you can't do anything for yourself. You need some help. So anyway, I ended up in a nursing home. And while I was there in that nursing home, something happened in that nursing home that was a phenomena that was unexplainable to me. And I talk about that in the book. How, as I was laying in the bed, because the aides there would have to turn me, because I couldn't turn myself. So they had me laying on my back this particular evening, and the room was almost pitch dark, and I imagine, ready to go to sleep. And all of a sudden, there was this bright light that was in the corner of a room. And this bright light had it took on the form of a human. And the human form was comprised of, it looked like thousands and thousands of minute, tiny lights. And it moved across the room slowly. Moved across the room, and somehow it postured itself in such a fashion that it sat on my solar plexus, right on my stomach, and stretched out. And I went into a deep sleep. It's been very difficult for me to explain what happened after that, because it was like a light, almost like a light bulb, was like hanging inside of my head. And I could see it, but I couldn't touch it. I could never really explain how a light bulb is in my head, but it was a form of light, evidently. So the next day, when the aides came in to help me, as they always say, how you doing today, Miss Linda? Da, da, da. And I would say, I am fine. And they would say, I say, how you doing? And so they always had something, a complaint of some type. And I immediately said, let me shine some light on it. I never used that term, wasn't mine. But I began to use that, and I did shine light on their issues. In fact, it was so profound. I didn't know it was profound at the time, but their reactions were telling me, their expressions, that it was very profound. The answers that I was given, they would go and get a friend that they work with, a coworker, and say, come, let me, and listen, ask Miss Linda. And it was ongoing. And then it was a matter of 3 days. I was able to stand up. And then here I am today. It was an ongoing process, but many things happened to me during that time frame before I got from there in that nursing home to where I am today. It took time. My body had to adjust. The emotions that I held for other people, family, associates, they were no longer there. They were gone. And whatever energy they brought to me during that time, it was like the beginning of a new relationship. It was like, I am now knowing you. And at this point, this is where the love or the support of you began. It was not like, oh, I've known you 30 years or 20 years. And it was not that. It was like I had a new idea about who you were. And that is what I embodied. And that's what I embraced. Some of my family and relatives were so indifferent. But in the past, they may have been very loving. But at this time, that was it. I had no need for them anymore because I was a different human. My language changed. The way I talked changed. My verbiage, certain letters were missing. And it was certain words that had certain letters that I just couldn't grasp them anymore. And it had got to the point because I did a lot of public speaking because I worked for the government, the city of Chicago, and I was a manager. And I had to do a lot of public speaking. And I was pretty fluent at it. But after this situation, the walk-in, it was like my words were no longer the same. And not only were my words no longer the same, my actions were no longer the same. My body was no longer the same. My body felt like it was out of alignment. But over time, it got right in. It took time. My words came back. I was able to communicate at the level even higher than I had prior. My emotions were different. The way I viewed people was different. The way I viewed the planet was different. Everything was different. So I knew that I had taken on something, but there was a gentleman, a friend of mine, and he was a therapeutic doctor, and he was a historian of African principles. And we talked pretty often. And I decided that one day I told him, because it was something I had never really told people, because I thought they would think I was maybe, oh, she lost it. And I told him what happened to me while I was in the nursing home. And he says, well, that has historically happened and it's called a walk-in soul. And he began to tell me some of the different historical aspects of walk-ins, how they were into all types of different places. And he even utilized an aspect in the Bible, a verse, where they talked about Elijah and Elijah. So I was able to, I started studying, I started reading a little bit about them, but it was very difficult to find something. And I was always going up north. There was a friend of mine, she owns this, it's a school, it's a mystery type school. And I met a gentleman up there, and he said this to me. He said, are you a walk-in soul? I was shocked. And I said, yes. So anyway, we had that conversation, and he told me about a boy, I think it was in India. And he told me the story of that walk-in. And then he told me, we began to talk, and I learned more about walk-ins. And then I began to think about it, and I was led to a group of women that were in the southern suburbs here in Chicago. And when I went to that meeting, and I never just go to places that I pick up online, but I was drawn. And when I was drawn there, I had been going there because they meet once every a week. And after I had been there, I think about a month, and it's very confidential, I told the leader of it, of my situation, and she was stunned. And she says, well, we have many of these particular groups across the state. And I want you to meet the founder, if you don't mind. Do you mind if I tell her your story? I said, no. So she did, and she was so amazed. She asked me to speak at a group, and it was huge. It was huge. And that was the first time I ever publicly talked about it. But it was like relief, great relief, to be able to get this out, because it was suppressed in me. And the story needed to be told. And so it was so relieving. And then I was asked to do a speech about the walk-ins at another place, another venue. And this time I wanted to add a little more to it, because I've lived a little longer since it, and I've had different experiences. Now I wanted to add to it. And as I was sitting and I was rewriting things that I thought about that might be of interest to the group that I was speaking before, I've got this unction, a download, and it said, you never grieve the spirit that left, and you never really embrace your new spirit. And when I thought of that, all of a sudden I was sitting at my dining room table, and there was a deep primal cry came out of me. It was so deep I couldn't even contain it. I just got up and I ran and just laid on the bed and just cried so much. And actually, I was grieving the soul that had left. I never had grieved it. And after that, I was able to welcome and embrace my new self, really fully, fully. And then I began to get more downloads and more information. I mean, the information was coming daily, all day almost. So it was a very powerful experience, and the love that it brought was at such a high frequency. It was almost, I won't say unbearable because the energy was so high. I think this energy of love was so high, it was close to the divine, close to the creator. It's a deep love that I had for me now that I had not had before.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. On some level, do you perceive yourself as having issued an invitation for that walk in soul to come, or do you think it was just divine orchestration for how that ensued with you in the nursing home?
Wait, say that a question again.
Do you feel that you in some way issued the invitation, like you did on some level? Do you think you prayed for this thing to come within that moment within the nursing home, being in such a state, or do you think it was divinely orchestrated, like this was just the moment in time where it was divinely aligned for that walk-in event to occur?
I think it was divinely aligned, but the fact that I believed that I would walk again, I had a deep seated belief. And even when I couldn't walk,
Yeah.
I believed that I could. Even when the doctors told me over and over, and I mean, I went to many hospitals, very prominent hospitals. They all told me the same thing, that you never walk again. They take the spinal taps and they take all these tests. They said I would never walk again. And I had to constantly say, well, if you believe that, don't share that with me. Because I had to maintain my belief, because I had a strong belief and my words went forth. This is why I understand the power of our words. They go forth and they do affect any way you send them. And they manifest for you. I said I would walk again and I meant it and I believed it. And I did.
I think on some level it extended beyond belief. It was your knowing. It was just in a knowing that you were just grounded, and you were grounded in that awareness that I will walk again. This is not the end of this situation. So it extended well beyond any degree of belief. But I'm curious to know who was Linda before the walk in? Like what's the contrast between the two lives?
Honey, it was a deep contrast. I'm an Aries woman. I was born on April the 7th. And I studied astrology. I myself, I could have been the poster girl for Aries people. So aggressive, such a warrior, always ready to throw down, always ready, always ready. And if I felt offended, honey, I mean, you was gonna get it. And so that was who I was. I did not play, and I had a reputation. I would fight at the drop of a hat if you offended me. I mean, people knew this. People were skeptical. They walked around me because they knew. But after the walk in, everything changed. I didn't. I used to use profanity quite a bit, and I stopped that, and I started to be. I started looking at myself, and I knew this is not who I am, and I was just the way it was. And as you shine the light on that shadow or whatever, you know, you see it. It's got to dissipate. And I just said, I'm not gonna be this. I'm gonna change. I can't be. And then my words were more kinder. Everything changed. My response to people were different. They just were. They were more uplifting, more inspirational. It was like I was shining light everywhere I went. It was the light, and it got brighter and brighter. And it overpowered and overshadowed that old self, and it had to die off.
That's profound because it speaks to you having shined the light first on yourself. So you have become extremely self-aware, and in becoming aware of yourself, do you know all, right? Know thyself, know the cosmos, you know all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. That's profound. Your journey, you said your awareness opened up. Can you speak to how your awareness opened up, how you began to walk into realization of things that you didn't know before? How was the walking in guiding you into greater understanding of who you are and this reality?
Well, I would begin to get downloads. I would hear the voice, and then I would pay attention and I would listen. And then it would come every day. And I began to like really listen and check it out and attempt to discern what it was saying. And then as I began to like get into amazement about it, it began to speak longer and longer. So I began to journal, and I would just write, and it would just come more and more and more. And I'd write pages and pages, and put the date on it. Next day, saying, I write. And then I would run out of pages. I write so much. Then I get another journal and I write. And it began to tell me who I was. It began to explain to me about light and the importance and power of light. It began to explain to me about love and the heart energy. It began to explain to me about the fall of third dimension and moving into fifth dimension. And that it was my duty, they were telling me, it was my duty to shine the light in front of people and to share with them that they would need to raise their frequency, and other things. And they said, if they don't, this is free will. It is up to them. And so, it was just so much information. And they told me once was a shocker. They said that the ground that you walk on is sacred ground. I was like, now that was a stunner. But I had to ponder that. They would tell me who I was, but it was not someone that I had been programmed to believe that I was or could become. It was so much more than who I thought I was. But that was because the walk-in came from a higher dimension, brought in knowledge, but it was not going to overpower me, but here it is, bam. They had to walk me into it. It's like going to school. It was more and more and more. Then it began to tell me about the universes. Then it began to tell me about the planetary systems and this and that. So I listened and I was appreciative. And I just get downloads all the time, every day. If I'm by myself, I'm always getting information. I follow. I mean, if I'm out wherever I am, if it says turn right, I run right.
Beautiful, beautiful. When you were a child, one thing I love about your story is that you mentioned how your father nurtured your gift because as a child you had the ability to hear. You had the dreams, and
Mm-hmm.
you would basically he would interpret the dreams. Is that kind of how that went?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how that walk-in experience complemented the you that you were as a young girl. Like, was there a connectedness? Can you see the strings of connection from the walk-in experience to that state that you existed in as a child?
Oh, definitely. It was a strong part of the framework, a strong part because, it's something you asked me that because last night, right before I was going to bed, I was thinking about something my father said. There was a situation that had come up, and I asked my father about it, and he says, "You don't know the type of people we are." And that was last night. And I pondered that. I said, I wonder what did he mean by that? My father was a dreamer, and I think he did really get visions because he knew things to do for people that were sick. His father was a healer. Now, my father was an older father, And he was born in 1916 in Mississippi. And so his father was born in the in 1800s. So they had to fare for themselves and do a lot of healing work. So his father provided a lot of healing for a lot of people. And they would walk for days because everything was so, separated in the South during that era. And he was a healer. And so it's in my DNA. It's in my father's DNA. So it's just something that was a carry over. And my father, he just knew things. He could just look up at the sky and tell us where it was raining. And these are things we took for granted, my brother and I took it for granted. I thought everybody knew, but I didn't know. But he would say, yeah, you see over there? He would talk about the clouds. He says raining over in such and such a town. Or he'd say where the storm was moving. He just knew these things, but we took it for granted.
It was, yeah, it's like divine orchestration. You had that foundation up on which to build. That's
Yeah,
fascinating. That's
it
that's
is.
that's fascinating. It's fascinating considering how this creation works, how this reality works. Now, with this walking experience, having gone from where you were to where you wound up after the walking experience, what things did you become aware of in regards to our physical reality?
Well, I became more aware of the physicality. And it was like my path led me. It were people that got on, you know how people get on your path and they are there as a teacher. So there was a woman and she was teaching these classes and I met her and she says this to me. She says, you and I were sisters in a past life when we were healers. And so she's well known nationally. Well, I would say internationally. And so she says the spirit told her to take me under my wing and teach me. So she taught me a lot and she taught me how to look inside the body. Now that's something that might be sort of outlandish, but I was able to do it because of her teachings. You could look inside your body and see your organs. And so that within itself expanded my awareness as to who I am. And the fact that you can go and look at your own organs, and also the fact that all the organs had their own brain, your own type of brain. So this wakes you up and puts you into a new reality, expands your awareness. So she taught me that, but then what she taught me, then the spirit began to show me more of it. It began to show me more of this I that is in me. When people talk about that I, they think about the physicality. I am this, I'm that. But Spirit showed me this I. There's a main I that people ignore, don't know exists. There's an I in me right now and in you, as you're probably aware, that has your heart beating, that has every organ working. They're not bumping up to each other. Has your blood circulating. If you cut your finger, it'll mend it. This is the most important I. This is the I that I began to identify with, which expanded my awareness. Because as I began to ponder and develop a love for this inner I found that this I not only operates on the inner, this I can do magnificent things on the outer. And it is as large and as broad and as deep as you believe it to be. So my awareness has been certainly expanded. I was sitting in my kitchen one day and I was getting downloads. And and my guides were saying, see yourself, your inner self, as large as your kitchen, which was a feat for me. So I sat there and I saw that. And I was just pondering, wow, how large this is. And then it said, expand that self into the next room, and the next room, and the next room. And then see that self outside of your house. So the awareness has been very powerful, very expansive. It allows me to see things even into the ether. It expresses to me how this oxygen that I'm breathing right now and that you're breathing, it is filled with life force. It's filled with energy. It's filled with dynamic energy. And without it, we cannot live. It is alive. Everything around us is alive. But humanity has not been taught this. So it has expanded my awareness in many ways and on many dimensions.
Yeah, that's been my experience, and I love how you shared that because that was beautiful.
Thank
Seeing that because I'm stepping into that realization myself, or not stepping into it. I've stepped into it. I'm at a point where I am now allowing myself to be that, exist in that space, own it, and have the courage to articulate that, that I can operate from that space. But here is a question for you because like we have we have the keys to the kingdom. We have all of it. We have access to all of it. How are you honing in on knowing? How are you honing in on awareness? I found that many people don't have a curiosity. They don't know how to ask questions and inquire to get information that will assist them in expanding that awareness. So, what's your practice for becoming more aware? Are you just having that information dropped in? I'm not having that. Like I have to ask for certain things, certain awarenesses. I'm having to inquire, but I'm realizing that I have to inquire in the right way, ask the questions in the right way. So, what's your methodology for gaining greater awareness?
Well, I do ask questions and I'm very
Yeah.
curious. I'm extremely curious, but they give me so much information. And sometimes information is so profound and so dynamic. I ask, why are you giving me this information? There's no way I'm going to be able to use it in this life. Uh, why are you giving me this? It's too much. Because I could not foresee me using it, utilizing it. And they would say, we give it to you because you will have to utilize it. And so I ask questions. If it's something that I want to know, I just think about it with a question and it comes. It might come the same day. It might come on the billboard. It might come, it's no telling, but it's going to come. I have never asked a question that I didn't get an answer. Never. And see, I think humanity has lost the ability to be inquisitive because when we're children, they're taught curiosity killed the cat. These are little terms that program us to not ask questions about who we are, our originate. You don't ask anything. Then those in religion, they teach you don't question. You don't question God. But how do you get to know a person if you don't ask questions about that person? So I question. I ask anything. How do I need to heal this? What do I need to do? What do I need for that? I feel funny right here. What is it? In my sleep, I might fall asleep, go into a dream, or I'm just into my regular sleep at night. Now I'll see a supplement and they'll put it in my face, the bottle. And if I'm in a deep sleep, I force myself to wake up to write it down. Or I force myself to wake up and see, because I have all types of supplements, because I help people often to become their better self physically. So I have all types, and I'll just go in there and I'll find it and I'll sit it on the stove, make sure I remember to take it. All of a sudden, I'm good.
I think I can only speak for myself. I'll speak for myself and say that there was a time when the first elder showed up. That's what I call her, who was my like first teacher who showed up on the path. She asked me once, what questions did I have? And for the longest time, I never had a question. I never had a question. And it took me a really long time to realize that I never had a question because I was in the loop. I was in the loops and patterns of life. I was in that comfort zone. I was in the program. But it wasn't until I began to back out and expand my perspective that I began to question everything. Everything became a question at that point. And I think that's a clear cut indicator if you are in the program, if you don't have any questions. I always knew what was coming next. I always knew the schedule. I always followed the same routine. But it wasn't until I began to, well, listen to her share her stories that I started to entertain new possibilities. And what that caused me to do was kind of back out and begin assessing my life, observing my life. And from that perspective, did I begin asking questions. And from there, there hasn't been a day when I haven't asked a question, right? I mean, everything spurs a new question about self, generally just observing life. Because one of the things that she shared that was so profoundly pivotal for me was life being a reflection of self, life being rendered in reflection of you. That was a big game changer for me because I realized that the external wasn't happening to me as much as I was creating it by virtue of my very own resonance, right? And so, from that perspective, it puts the responsibility back on you. And so, it's empowering, but also humbling. And it's like almost a gut punch to the ego for you to view life in that way because you realize that you have all the power, you have all the power to change, and that there really are no victims within this life experience, right? Because you are ultimately creating all of it, playing the games of illusion with yourself. Ultimately, is how this life goes. So yeah. But one of the things that you talk about a lot, I see you post a lot because I'm always watching, is you talk about the mind, the power of the mind, and the necessity to truly understand the mind and how your mind works, how your mind filters information, how to cultivate your mind and nurture your mind so that you are able to see things for what they truly are. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, the mind is one of the most important aspects of the human because the mind can affect the physical body, also the mental self, because the mind is separate from the physical body. And a lot of people think their brain is the mind, but the brain is just it's inside of the physical body. It's here inside of us. The brain is different. This is where we can think and make decisions, bring in maybe an idea sometimes. But the mind is separate. The mind is an energy that is like it's like a channel. It's an opening. It's a hose. It's a whole different dimension that goes all the way up to the divine mind. And this is where new inventions and new ideas and everything comes in. So people, they don't realize that they can stifle this inner action. First of all, with non-belief and with not being inquisitive and not really working with this brain. Because as we work with the brain, different neurotransmitters open and pathways open. And when these pathways begin to open and you're demonstrating that you are seeking knowledge, all of a sudden that information will start flooding you. But you have to be open and not fear it. The mind is so important. This is why the powers that be, they spend billions of dollars and they love money. Money gives them power on planet Earth. They spend billions in programming, advertising, and conditioning your mind because they know if you ever take charge of your mind, then they are finished. The mind is sort of like a computer in a way. So you are the one that can turn it on, and you're the one that can turn it off, and only you have the password. If we were taught from our youth that the mind is very important and it should be protected, because outside thought forms, outside belief systems. Anything can program your mind because once it gets in your mind and your brain receives it and you accept it, it's yours from then on. But if you put an invisible guard at the door of your mind when you're young and you believe there's something there to protect it, then you will only allow certain information to come in, certain type of music to come in. Because everything that goes into the mind is an aspect of a program. But if you are putting the programs in your mind, you become the person that you desire to be and a person that you can love genuinely. But if other people are telling you who you are, what you should love, what you should not love, certainly you would not love yourself. This is so important, the mind. The mind is what gives you ideas, and the mind will tell your brain what to do to heal a particular aspect of yourself. The mind will tell your brain to, if you're going down this street, hey, make a left turn or make a U-turn. It can help save you. The mind can give you ideas, inventions, ideas that can make you wealthy. But you have to have studied and work with your brain to the degree that the mind opens up and you can receive, and there could be an interaction.
It's almost like you have to train the brain, like the brain is a little puppy and you got to train it to open itself up and to receive divine mind. Because what you're talking about is really divine intelligence, that
It
that
is.
that channel of divine intelligence that we have access to. Now, what's your perspective of how that works in collaboration with the heart, the sacred space of the heart? What's the connection? Because there's a school of thought that says there's a connectedness between the brain and the heart. How does that work in conjunction with divine mind as you perceive it?
Well, I think that they work closely together because the heart gets information, and this is what the scientific community is saying. The heart gets information before the brain because you might feel something, but the feeling is a communication system. It's telling something, but the brain interprets it. And the mind is an aspect that will help the brain see through and understand what this heart energy is saying. We must be tapped in on many levels. Every aspect of the human is communicating something to us. So the mind is constantly communicating to your brain, and the brain is the receiver. And as we receive the information, you can put the feeling from the heart up on that information, or you cannot do so. You can choose the feelings that you want to go with that information. But most people don't pay attention to their feelings, and their feelings have gotten out of control. And they just let feelings flow without thinking of it or thinking about the logic behind the feeling. Is this feeling appropriate for this thought? Is this feeling appropriate for this situation? But once they begin to carry certain feelings at a low level, and it's always harsh, every situation, they are treated that way. They'll speak and they put that feeling that they're accustomed to with it. But it's the wrong feeling and they get the wrong results. And then they blame fate. Emotions are to be controlled by the human. This is a great aspect of mastering ourselves. You cannot let your feelings take you places because they will. They'll take you places that you may never survive from. So we must monitor our feelings and don't let the feelings lead us. We must let the brain interpret the mind, and then we move accordingly. And don't put the feeling there unless that feeling that you're going to put there is appropriate.
Do you find that you are having to control as much? What I
Am
mean
I?
is, do you find that you are needing to control that action as much? Because what I'm saying is divine mind is moving through the instrument of human form, right? Is there a necessity as you perceive it to filter out, to do as much filtering from a human perspective? Because you mentioned not choosing certain music or not choosing certain things that are detrimental. Do you find yourself necessarily having to make those choices consciously, or do you see yourself as, by virtue of having divine mind flow through, you naturally just don't have an inclination toward those things?
Well, some people, I think it's natural because they've been programmed for certain to not listen to music or whatever.
Yeah,
But I think that the average person and the above average person has to make a choice.
yeah,
You choose because there is an inner knowing that certain music will raise your frequency and make you feel good. And then there's certain music that they call bombastic music. It damages the nervous system. It throws every cell in your body out of whack, out of alignment. And then, if every cell in your body is out of alignment because of the bombastic music, of course, your brain cells are out also. So, therefore, you're not going to be able to make good decisions because that music is going to affect your emotional body. And so, once that's affected, you might do things that you never would have done under normal circumstances. And if you continue in that on that path, you walk in a path to your own detriment. This is why music is so important, because music, certain hurts, is a healer. It heals certain organs, and it calms the body. So we have to choose. If we're going to listen to music, we need to listen to music that is soothing to the soul or healing to the body. And the words that are coupled with music, they can bring you higher into the frequency of love and light, or it can take you down to violence and death. We have to be careful.
absolutely, absolutely. It's a time when we are at a place of intense evolution. We're in the midst of this shift, and all the things that don't serve are coming up to be seen and felt and heard, and all of these things. So, in light of that, how do you feel humanity gets to a place where it surrenders to the evolution that's already in tow, the ascension that's already in tow?
Well, I think that people have to, first of all, know that it's happening. And many people don't, they're not aware that there's anything happening, that evolution's taking place. But I think that everybody on this planet, that divine mind has put someone in their face to proclaim the light, but they either heard it or they didn't hear it. They took it, accepted, or they rejected it. Because there is a web of light, a web, sort of like a spider web. It's a huge web where there are people that are light workers systematically placed. And everyone that is in your environment or close proximity, they're going to receive information. We put the information out there, and it's up to those people to receive it. And some people will receive it because the thought forms are out there in the ether, and they're open, they seeking, and they'll get that. They'll get that information. They'll be led somewhere that it will be embellished for them. But then there are those who love playing in that third dimensional energy, that old Piscean energy where it's all about me and mine, and how I can get it by any cost necessary. But those of us who are aware, I could use this story. And I could use this story of Jesus. He said, if you lift me up, I'll draw men unto me. So as people lift others up like you're lifting people up, those people that you lift up will draw people to this idea of evolution. It's out here. People are talking about it. It is up to people to understand something's happening within me. And they have to inquire what it is. And if they inquire what it is, they'll be led to a pamphlet, a book, a person, something. Because evolution, our DNA is shifting and people are feeling it. They don't know what they're feeling. And the powers that be don't want you to know. So it's up to us to share that. But it's out there for everyone. And if they have a notion or inclination to want to understand it, that information we put in their face, and it's up to them to receive it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Those who will receive it will receive it. Those of us who hold the light are just tasked with sharing what we have to share in the way that we are here to share it, right? And allowing the chips to fall where they fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, it's a great divide, and you know that it has been predicted by some of the greatest cultures and some of the great prophets that there would be a divide. And this is it. We're in it. And that's why we're here right now to help support this planet's evolution or ascension. And so there are some of us that are already in fifth dimension. And there are some of us that are in higher dimensions. But there are those that want to hold on to their old regrets, their envy, their jealousy, all of that. They're stuck in third and they feel comfortable with it. They don't want to let go because people know that people are doing shadow work. Everything that's hidden is being exposed, even in themselves. What they are is coming to the light. They're seeing themselves. They are rejecting it, but they can look at that and know this is not who I want to be. And they can shed some light on it and bless it on up out of them and let it go. But they want to hold on to it because they have no influence over their emotions. When those old shadows come up, they put the same old feeling with it and give it more life. And then it goes right back into them, and then they stuck more deeper into, I would say, less than third dimension.
Yeah, that's another perspective of attachments, right? Not a physical or entity attachment, but an attachment to,
Dimensional attachment.
yes, yeah, yeah, another form of attachments. So this is this is the work of the moment. This is the work of the moment. What are practical ways? What are practical ways that you keep yourself grounded and in the space of being open to all that is unfolding within your awareness? And what practical tips would you have for somebody who wants to make that leap from third dimensional being into greater awareness of themselves?
First of all, I would do what is called shadow work. I would sit with myself. Now, that's difficult for a lot of people, but it can be accomplished. I would sit with myself and study myself. And I would quiet my mind because thoughts are going to come in a steady stream. I would quiet my mind and I would look and look at myself, just be observant of who I am. And often they can just close their eyes but don't go to sleep. And old feelings will begin to rise up, certain jealousies. You have to admit truths about yourself because when there's a lot of that low energy out here on this planet, we can be bombarded with this stuff and it can just sneak into our being. So if you see it when it comes up, don't run from it. You observe it. You put your own inner sight, which will bring light upon it. And if it's something that you know, a hatred you hold for somebody, you look at that person and say, I forgive myself. And I forgive that person. I let it go. I bless it into the light. Your words go forth. And as you begin to do that, it'll be like an old well that the old people used to have to draw up that water. It'll be an old well of deep stuff coming up. Oh, it's going to come up because now you're allowing it. But this stuff has been embodied somewhere in your physicality. And this is what makes you ill and have dis-ease. They must look at this stuff honestly and do it when no one is around so your ego won't get into play. Know your ego from your spirit. Begin to identify that. And as these things come up, bless them into the light and let them go. Just keep on doing it until you feel sort of free. But it's sort of like a garden. If you begin to take some of those weeds out, like those old hurts and pains and regrets, something will come in quickly and replace it with the same. But you got to say, I let that go and I receive love and light in its place. Also, people can ground themselves. I love going into a beautiful area, and I have trees around here. And if you walk on grass, natural grass, or even in the forest or wherever you want to, if you walk barefooted, you get electrons that come from the earth. Those electrons help your body so much. It helps your nervous, every aspect of you. I would say it is an aspect of healing that can occur. And the more you do it, the more healing and the more energy that you feel, you become more light, enlightened. Also, hugging a tree. The plant kingdom is very potent. It has a lot of energy. And when we hug a tree, we're hugging a life force that gives us life. We got to remember that. A life force, and it can help us so much. Some people feel you can even hug a pet because your pet carries a lot of different electrons also. Walking on the sand on the beach, getting in water, tapping into water. And if you don't have a body of water you can tap into to ground in, you can run yourself a tub of water. And you bless this water because water has a consciousness. You entrain with the water. You say, I love you, water. Water will help you. Help heal you. It'll help ground you. Your words. You can get black stones like tourmaline. Black stones, and you can hold them. And hematite, you can hold them and they help ground you. There's many ways to ground yourself. And if you don't want to walk barefooted on the ground, what you can do is buy yourself a pair of moccasins, and they will have natural material. The natural material that is created by nature, usually suede or something, you can walk on that ground and it will not block the electrons. But the shoes that we wear, the soles that are on our shoes, especially gym shoes, all shoes pretty much, they block that energy. So you have to put forth effort. And that energy will help ground you. There are many ways to ground. And once you start to ground yourself, you will find yourself in places that you can go and you feel more comfortable grounding in.
Beautifully shared, beautifully shared. That's one of the things that I have discovered for myself. That's actually how I started to open up, was connecting with nature, just going out for walks, really slow walks, just connecting with nature. And I eventually ended up meditating, sitting in the middle of a field, taking the
Mm-hmm.
time to just be. And that's when I really started to open up. But I love being here in Florida because well, it's summer all the time basically, and so
Right.
you can get over to the beach, like you're never too far away from a beach, and just be, be with the elements and just listen. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to the beach with the intention of reading a book, and I get there and the waters are like, no, you're just going to sit here and be and listen and receive and discharge all the things that you have to discharge so that you can be rebalanced, right? It's such a healing place, and it's such a healing thing. But really, all of nature is us, right? All of nature is us. So
Absolutely.
you are
And in us.
connecting, yeah, connecting with yourself. And I love what you said. It hit like such mother wit. Was know your ego from your spirit. Like, no, know your ego from your spirit. Be willing to learn the voice, the difference in the voices, right? Yeah, that's profound. That is profound. And the other thing was the running away. Oh, the resistance. Yeah, because people want to change, right? you have a good intentions, noble intentions of wanting, desiring to change, but once you start to really see you, well, there's that resistance, right? Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to feel that. They want to run away from it at all costs. But it's such a profound gift to have the ability to sit with those things that bring up those things that are the triggers, really, right? The things that you don't want to deal with, you don't want to see. That's where the magic is. Those are the biggest
Yeah,
keys.
it is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. And see, oftentimes, while when we're out, there's so much negative energy in the ethers on the lower planes. And you can walk into a grocery store and you can walk past someone, and your aura, if you have a big aura, larger aura, your auras interact with other people's aura, and we pick up things.
Mm.
So we have to always be mindful. This is why it's important to sit with self every day and see where self is, because self has picked up something. There's always an exchange when there's an overlapping of those auric fields. So I sit with myself every day with my coffee or my tea or my water, and I bless my water. I hold my water, and I drink. I only get water out of glass bottles, and I pour my water still out of a glass bottle into a glass. I hold it, and I speak, and I pour a lot of love and gratitude in it, and I speak over that water because that water is listening to me like another human. It hears me, and it's obeying me. And if I say, "Thank you, water. You are a healing elixir. I bless you. Thank you." Whatever I say, and then I drink it, it becomes what I said. So it's so many things we can do to help ourselves, but we've never been taught. We've always been taught to look outside of ourselves for everything that is good or powerful, never to look within. But within is where the real power lies. There is more power on the invisible than it is on the visible.
Love that. I love that. And I love that you shared about the waters because I don't even know what the word is because I'm more than intentional about my water. I'm very serious when it comes to my water, right?
Mhm.
And even when I take baths every day, and I sit and I soak in the waters. I put my Himalayan salts in the water, let them dissolve, and I basically issue like a prayer. I move my hands through the waters and I allow myself to commune with the waters, speak to the waters, and ask the waters to assist me in releasing all the things that seek to be released. And it's interesting because you can feel that electromagnetic pulse coming from your hands. We all have it, right? But
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
when you're in water, you can feel that moving through the water, and it creates this wave-like effect in the waters. But I'm I'm very serious about communing with the waters, and I'm very intentional about the waters that I choose to drink and how I commune with the waters before I drink them. I'm like you. I'm ritual. It's like almost like a morning ritual where I sit with my morning coffee or my morning cup of hot water. One of those things, but I'm communing with water. And I thought about the other day, I had this random thought of why the beach is so healing, why the beach is so healing, and I realized that we are light animating form. We are light animating form, but we were birthed by fire and water. We emerged from the womb, the salt waters, the waters. And this is why we need salt. Salt is a part of a necessity for the human body. And I realized, oh, this is why the beach is so healing because you get the combination of sun, which is the fire, the light,
Mhm.
and you get the water as well. So communing with the waters is paramount, right? And we have such dead waters in coming through the taps. So you really have to be intentional about working with and communing with, enlivening the waters, speaking to the waters. Yeah.
You do. You have to bless the water. You have to really spend time with that water. And I even take it further. When I step out of the tub or the shower, there's a mirror there, and I look in the mirror,
Yeah.
and I let the water, the beads, stay on me because
Yeah.
I know my pores are going to absorb it. And
Yeah.
I bless that water, and I thank that water. I thank the water for being so kind, so beautiful, so lovely, so much light. I thank you. This is why it's important to not let people speak over you, over your food, over your drink, whatever it is, with negativity, because it affects it. If your food and your water can receive a blessing, it can take the opposite, a cursing. This is why it's important. We ourselves, some of us are 50%, 60, 70, 80% water. You don't need anyone to speak anything negative, even with a joke over your body, because the water is listening. The fluids in your body are listening. Even when I make coffee every day,
Yeah.
but I make it with water, and it
Yes.
is water. I bless that. I bless that coffee because that
Yeah.
coffee is a fluid that's going in my body. And if
Yeah.
you bless everything that goes in your body, your food, we change it and we amplify the energy of whatever we put into that food or that drink. This is important. And then we become the totality of us. We become what we eat, what we think, and what we drink. If a man is eating food from a mad woman every day, all I have to do is know it. I know your plight. I know where you're headed. You're filled with disease.
Mm. Yeah.
That
Yeah. That's a word too. Because then that explains how my grandmother's sweet potato pie was so good. But when I cooked it, it was just okay, right? Because she was, I mean, she's putting that love in it. There's
oh
something
man,
that goes in
right.
it, goes into it,
Habit.
that extra unseen ingredient that's being added to the mix, that makes it that much more,
We're
that much
alchemists. We
better, right?
change things with our thinking, our
Yes.
words, our feelings. And those feelings are pouring through our fingers with light. And when
Yeah.
we put that food, it's going to carry the energy you put in it.
That's an extraordinary power to have because we have the ability to affect so much change in the world by
Mhm.
virtue of not just our words but the intention that we carry. The intention of our creations has such power to ripple forward because even if it touches one person, well, that one person is going to ripple that forward and ripple that forward and ripple that forward, and that's how you create change in the world without poisoning the field, being intentional about speaking from a place of love, making sure that your
Absolutely. And see,
actions are all grounded in love.
and we can do that. I do that often. I'll drive down a specific street with intention because I know a lot of people are going to be at the bus stop or they're out in the street. And I just send love, light, and blessings to them to raise them up into a higher consciousness. And our words go forth. And these people will pick it up because there are people in our community, southern communities, that have been crying out for help. And it seems that no one has come. But when you go into these communities that others stay out of, you can
Mm.
really affect change.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. You can affect change wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, right?
That's right. And you
Yeah,
can affect it right in your home.
yeah,
Because I was very inquisitive as a child growing up, because I grew up in the church. And I used to go to Sunday school and I studied. I love reading. I just loved it. So I studied a lot. I used to ask my father, who was a deacon at the church, I said, how can Jesus be here and there? And he'd just go play because they had no answer.
yeah.
And I got a little older, I asked the superintendent of Sunday school, how can Jesus be here and there? No one could answer my questions. But when I got into my late teens or early 20s, I just got it. And the Spirit said to me, wherever your consciousness is, you're there. So you can affect change sitting in your house. And if you have the ability, which we all do, but we don't do it, and so it might lose its potency. But if you can imagine an area or a community, and you just imagine that in your mind, or you have an intention to send healing there, it could be done. This is how people can do distant healing. You know, wherever you believe you are, your consciousness can go there swiftly, faster than the speed of light. Faster. We've been
Yes.
told the speed of light, but never been taught about the speed of consciousness.
Yeah, because there is no time in consciousness. It's instant. It's instantaneous. There is no gap. There is no distance. That's what I want to say. There is no distance in consciousness. All is one thing. All things are one thing. Always connected, ever connected. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I love hearing you talk and I love sitting here talking to you. I want to say, if you have do you have like wisdom? Like if you had to leave one nugget of wisdom, what would that be?
Program your own mind
Mm,
and protect your mind.
yeah, protect your mind. Beautiful, beautiful. I've enjoyed this conversation, Linda. And
Thank you. Bye.
if is there anything more that you would want to share before we conclude? I think this has been a powerhouse conversation.
Yeah, I would like to share the fact that right now, as evolution is affecting all life on the planet, our DNA is being modified and upgraded. Uh, so, the scientific community always stated that we had junk DNA, but that DNA is being reconnected now. Also, the fact that many people have always believed that they had to have the diseases of their ancestors, but that is not true. It is your belief that you created when you said it and you spoke it. I have been to family reunions in the South, and there are large tables of people, and you always will hear them say, "Well, you so and so had Aunt so and so had high blood pressure, and I'm gonna have it. I got it too." And others will be saying, "Yeah, I know. I've been feeling this." They become hypochondriacs. They don't know it though. They would never accept it that they have programmed themselves. But there are ways today through epigenetics that people can reprogram their DNA's expression through what you think and what you pour emotion into. And if you do it over and over again, your DNA changes. Not only does it change for you, it changes for your ancestors, your descendants. And so I'm conscientious about that. And there are certain herbs that you can take, like maybe basil, holy basil, different herbs that you can take that will help you when you take it. It helps amplify the ideas and beliefs that you want your DNA to embody. And so we can do it. We can just look up pictures of DNA and RNA, and we can look at those pictures and just close our eyes and hold an image and say what you want. I'm always healthy. My body stays in a healthy state. You say what you want, and if you say it with conviction and emotion, your DNA will receive it. You can change it.
Yes, that's a beautiful thing. The body consciousness. Yeah, speak to it because it has a consciousness that you can definitely commune with and collaborate with as the soul in form, right? As the soul in
Hmm.
form. So that's a beautiful
Another
thing.
another thing I would like to offer is this. There was a time that the scientific community only said that the brain is the only thinking mechanism in the body. But then later they said the gut and they affirmed it, that it has some type of brain cells. Now they're affirming the heart has brain cells. But I have always affirmed that the kidney cells has a brain. Your pancreas has a brain. Your spleen has a brain. There's a brain in every system in your body, and it's waiting on you to use your brain box and heart, the emotion. You put all this together in your mind, and you speak to any aspect, any organ in your body. It has a brain, and it will listen to you. But often, because we've not spoke to these particular organs or said anything, communed with them, they become like radical bad little kids who has not been given direction. And then the doctors are called them radical cells, and they are cancer because you didn't direct them, you didn't tell them what you want them to do. So this is something we can do. We can talk to ourselves, talk to every aspect of our body, and it will listen. And it must follow your commands. If you say, my kidneys are healthy and whole and perfect and complete, they have to rise up.
That's profoundly beautiful. It's one of the things that I was guided to do was commune with the body. So I got the nudge to go buy an anatomy book. And I asked, why am I being guided to get this book? Why am I being guided to get this book? I don't even understand. But I was in the bookstore and I got it. And I got in the truck and I started reading it right away. And as I'm reading it, I'm realizing it's connecting me to the awareness that it's all one thing, right? Because I'm very familiar with the cosmos and how, the planets spin up and the suns operate and all this thing. But I was seeing that reflected in the body, understanding that it's all one thing. And so you can commune with all of these things because really you stand in reflection of all of it. And so by virtue of embodying that power of speaking over yourself, you are embodying the awareness of being all one with all things, essentially one with all things. So yes, that's a powerful thing.
It is.
Yes.
Know
Absolutely.
thyself is important.
Yes, that's absolutely it. Absolutely it. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Linda. I think I'm at my end. I don't have anything more to share, but I love speaking with you and I love how you deliver your message because you deliver it straight. Like no straight, no chaser, right? Straight, no chaser, which is fantastic. So, yes, absolutely. So, thank you so much for being with us and
And I really
sharing your.
appreciate you having me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Hear us. Our presence carries with it the emanation of divine light, the omnipotent, omniscient omnipresence, which, of the very nature of its being, sustains all life as life itself. Of this, know, our presence is not without cause. Our presence not without purpose, for our being wills to light the way of highest realization for the whole. Our light is our being. As divine presence, we are here as the eternal light and life which colors our world. Open on all levels, across all planes, through all dimensions. Divine light is without fear. Divine light is without prejudice. Divine light, of which we live and breathe, is our being. Grant yourself permission to know. We of the All are the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient divine force as unique expressions of love. We of the all are eternal liberation for all that binds. And we of the all are not veiled. Know us. Know thyself.